You want to say something?
No, I want to say, I want to see if I pronounce your name correctly. Is it Bukola?
Bukola
Ekbola?
Agbola, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll make sure I get that.
Yes.
That's all.
Okay, ready to go. Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's nice to have you here today once again. My name is Bukola Agbola. I'm a staff with Siege, and today I'll be presenting the EPA EJSCREEN Environmental Justice Tool. I'm part of the GIS team with Siege, and some of the things we do is map making of environmental justice tool. We also have community engagement. From time to time, we organize workshops and invite the community. We show them how to use the environmental justice tool. And if they have grant needs, we help them in mapping and also creating EJ profile for their locality. So Bukola Agbola is my name again. So I'm presenting the EPA EJ Environmental Justice Screening Tool. This tool started in 2010, but it was officially launched in 2015. And this tool was developed by the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. And the purpose of the EPA creating this tool is able to map out those communities and highlight vulnerable population and communities affected by pollution. And they do that by having different data sets, both environmental data and socioeconomic data. So they merge these data together to be able to produce an index to highlight areas that are vulnerable, to highlight vulnerable populations and areas affected by environmental pollution. Next, please. So what are EJ mapping tools? EJ mapping tools are very important because they help us it's a standardized method and to identify locations which are more susceptible to pollutions and environmental loads or burden. And it also it's an application that provides users with the access to be able to look at environmental and demographic data at the same time. So it gives users the ability to view this data and visualize it and see what this data actually represents in both the nation, region, state, census tract, block group, block designation. And it's also color coded, so it's easy to understand. And the EJ mapping tools also, you can also generate your reports. You can generate your community report for each of the tools, for either the country, the EPA region, the state, or any census tract. So there are so many of these mapping tools out there. We have the federal tools, we have the state tools. For Maryland, we have the EJSCREEN tool by our department, the MDE tool, that Department of Environment, they also have a tool. We have the Climate and Economic Justice tool. We also have the Park Equity tool for Maryland as well. Texas has a tool. I think New York too has a tool. We have the CAL EJSCREEN as well. And I think we have DOT, that's federal, for Department of Transportation. So there are so many of these tools out there. So it's good to go online and look for them. And depending on what exactly you're looking for, you can always find a tool that represents what you're looking for. Next, please. So what is EPA EJSCREEN? The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency created the mapping and screening tool. It has been updated to EJSCREEN 2.3. They just updated that this year. So one good thing about the EPA EJSCREEN tool is that they update it annually. Now, the last time we presented the tool, there were questions raised about how often this data is updated. For the EPA, they update it annually, which is very good. It's one thing I like about the tool. So they update it annually and help the agency to find out those areas that have public concern. The EJSCREEN tool is also a web-based GIS mapping and screening tool that was developed using GIS software. And how they do that is get different data sets, and these data sets are overlaid in the GIS tool to produce maps that represent different environmental and socioeconomic burdens. Those data sets, we call them indicators, and when they are categorized together, we call them domains. So in the tool, we have different domains, and each domains have their different indicators. And the tool also provides users access to a wide range of data. Some data, you may not have access to those data, you may not know where to find the data. So with the tool, you see the data, and the sources of those data are always in the landing page for those agencies. So when you go to the page, they tell you where they source the data from. You can also go there and look at the data. And EPA uses the EJSCREEN as a starting point for their agency's consideration in environmental justice. So when they have an issue, or when they want to look at a community and they want to decide if it's having environmental justice issues, the tool is one of the instruments the agencies uses to identify those communities with environmental injustice. Next, please. So why did the EPA create an EJSCREENing tool? Well, this tool was created to meet the intent of federal actions to address environmental justice in minority populations and low-income populations. It also focuses attention on environmental and human health conditions of minority and low-income populations with the goal of achieving environmental protection for all communities. So the tool was created to create equity and equality among all the community in the country, and also developed to identify potential areas where people are vulnerable and are exposed to various types of pollution. And this can ensure that program, policies, resources, fundings are channeled to those specific areas. Next, please. So this is just a graphic to demonstrate the why the tool was created. Environmental justice is the equal treatment of people and their participation in creating of policies and laws that affect their life. So it's to address inequality and make sure there is equity, and to address injustice and make sure there is justice all round for all. So purpose of the EJSCREEN tool. The EJSCREEN tool gives users full access to data. It's a public tool. It's readily available online. You can go online, you search for, just type EPA EJSCREEN tool, and you get to the landing page and the tool pops up. And it helps you to identify areas with people of color and low-income population. So the tool is color-coded. So when the darker the shade of the color, those areas are communities facing high environmental pollution. And most often than not, those are communities of color and low-income population. And you get to see potential environmental quality issues, and you get to see a combination of environmental and demographic data at the same time. So interweave these two data to be able to produce an index for each of those communities. And it's good for educational programs, it's good for grant writers, and it gives the community an awareness of what is going on in their locality. Before I discovered this tool, sometimes people are not aware of what is actually going on in their vicinity, but this tool helps create that awareness. So you Google it to check, and you know what is going on in your community. So the EJSCREEN primary data set, it has 13 environmental indicators. It used to be 12. They updated it, added one more indicator, and it's now 13 indicators. It has 7 socioeconomic indicators and 30 EJ index. What that means is that for each of the environmental indicators, they created an EJ index. And what that means is that they interlock one environmental indicator with 2 supplementary indexes, or 2 demographic indexes. I'll come to that later when I get to explain the indexes. Then we have 13 supplemental indexes. We have 5 health indicators, 5 climate change indicators, and critical service gap indicators. So all this together make up the components of the EPA EJSCREEN tool. Next. So what are the key features of this tool? Some of them is annually updated with both the environmental and demographic data is updated. Recently, they added a new demographic data I'll get to that when I'm talking about. Then we have, it's the highest resolution of data possible. Then a community of interest can be overlaid via the place data, via the place tab. They have a tab called the place tab where they have different layers. It's like a library on its own, a GIS library. And you can overlay those layers on the map if you are to see points of interest or data of interest. And you look at it, you overlay it with your community and see how it relates to the things happening in your community. It's color coded, and you can generate maps, you can generate graphs, you can generate reports for each selected area. And you can also compare. There's a comparison tab where you can see two different indicators at the same time, a side-by-side comparison tab. That's one cool thing I like about the tool. Then you can also download the data. The data is there, you can download it. And the good thing about the data is that not only does it have it in percentile, it also has the raw data. So you have the raw figure there, then you have the percentile, then you have the indexes. All those are available in the data. So these are the environmental indicators. We have the particulate matter 2.5, that is the average PM 2.5 level in the air, and that's 2020 data from the census data. We have the ozone, that's the average annual top 10 daily maximum 8-hour ozone concentration in the air, also 2020 data. Diesel particulate matter in the air, the toxic release air data, that's the Sierra listed chemicals in the air, that's 2021, that's even a more recent data. We have the traffic proximity volume, also 2020 data. That's the count of vehicles on major roads divided by the distance to the place. Most times they use the 10-kilometer distance. So what they do is that they create a buffer. So if your house falls between that 10 kilometers, the closer your house is to the road, the higher your INJ index. Then you have lead paints. Those are houses built pre-1960. And the data is from 2028 to 2022, which is quite recent. And this nitrogen dioxide is a new indicator. This is the new indicator they added to the EPA. And they got this from satellite data. So what they do, they get the satellite data, they convert it in the GIS software to vector data. From vector data, they get the points and the aggregates and they calculate it. And they're able to put the data in the map, which I think is is a good improvement in the tool. Next, please. Okay. Then other indicators, we have the superfund proximity. Those are sites, areas where they are like 10 kilometers close to any superfund site. Risk management plan, proximity. Oh, these are all 2024 data, so they are really quite recent. Then they have hazardous waste proximity. They are all 10 kilometers distance, and 2024 underground storage tanks, wastewater discharge indicator. Then this drinking water compliance is one of the new indicators also that they added to the updated tool. So what this does is that they got all the drinking water compliance and they created a matrix to be able to define the quality of public drinking water in the United States. Next one, please. Next, we have the socioeconomic indicator. Under the socioeconomic indicator, we have people of color, those individuals who list their race status as other than white alone or ethnicity as Hispanics or Latino. We have the low-income population. That's household income that is less or equal to twice the federal poverty level. We also have unemployment. All those who do not have a job during the time of the reporting period, limited English speaking, everybody 14 years and above in a household that have difficulty communicating in English. Then less than high school education diploma, people 25 years or older whose education is short of a high school diploma. Under age 5, people in block group under the age of 5, then over age 64. People in block group over the age of 64. And this data was gotten from the 2028-2022 ACS, that's American Community Survey data. That is where this data was sourced from. Next. Next, we have the health indicator. In the health indicator, we have the low life expectancy, that's average life expectancy, the heart disease prevalence among adults 18 years or older. We have asthma prevalence among adults 18 years or older, cancer, excluding skin cancer, prevalence among other adults 18 years or older, and we have person with disability. This is another new indicator that was added to the tool. We also have the climate indicator. And under the climate indicator, we have wildfire risk. That's wildfire exposure from any specific location in the US. That's excluding Alaska and Hawaii. Then we have the flood risk model. It shows the risk of flooding due to rainfall, riverine flooding, and coastal surge flooding. We have the 10-year flooding estimates, the sea level rise. That's the land at risk of permanent flooding when sea level rises. And we have extreme heat. That's the average annual days above 90 degrees over the past 5 years. Next is the critical service gap indicator. This looks at food desert in the US. It looks at population that lack health insurance. It looks at population that do not have internet access, or where 50% of the population do not have internet access. It looks at housing burden, where the median housing income, and you spend a household spend more than 30% on their income on housing costs. It also looks at transportation access that relates to transportation burden, national workability index, percentage of households with no vehicles, and a means to commute.
Critical service gap indicators.
Yeah.
How does that help with the community that's dealing with all of these burdens, all of these service gap indicators? How, if a community is dealing with every last one of these indicators, how does that tell the EPA, well, this community is has a high risk of different issues? So how do that bring resources into that community, or this is just data?
I won't say this is just data. That was why it was added into the tool, to be able to identify those communities. So one thing the EPA does is identify those communities and find out those communities that are qualified to receive grants or assistance from the EPA.
Is this information also cover regional areas, like, for example, the Chesapeake Bay region, covers 6 different states?
Yes, you can get regional data from this place too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're looking at the Environmental Justice Index. So for the environmental justice, one thing we need to note that the EPA is at the block group level. For the census designation, we have the block group, the census tract, county, we have the state, and the national level. So EPA is coming a little down and going to the most tools use the census tract. This uses the census block group. And what it does is like you're opening up something, you're like narrowing your gaze further into the community. So it takes an EJ index, for example, maybe lead paint or traffic or from a community, and multiplies it by the division of low income and people of color. So those 3 indicators together make up an EJ index. Then, and one thing about it is that it doesn't have a cumulative score. It doesn't add up all the indicators together to have an EJ index. But if you want to see the cumulative score, the tool has a tab where you can add as many indicators as you want to see and generate a cumulative score from that. So the next thing is the EJ index, of course, we expect that is higher in block groups with large number of mainly low income or people of color, and also residents with higher environmental indicator values. So these are the units of analysis. The block group, block group, census, county, state, and US data. Unfortunately, you can't get the block groups, the block data. The block data is just like having your neighbor's information. So because of security reasons, and so that cannot be released. Then the next we have the block group, but it's also a very refined data. So you can still get most of the information from the block group as well. And this data is for the whole US, and the block group depends on density and size, but usually between 600 to 3,000 people. So we have in the EPA, we have two indices. We have the demographic index and we have the supplementary demographic index. What this means is for the demographic index, you get to weigh an indicator. It can be environmental indicator, it can be climate, it can be any of those indicator, health. You weigh it against low income and people of color. That's the low income and multiplication of low income people of color divided by 2 times any indicator of your choice. But if you want to use the supplementary index, they added more socioeconomic indicators in there, low income, disability. Before it used to be unemployment, so they just changed it to disability because that was based on community requests, demands, and this unemployment cannot the way it was explained, that some people can be unemployed by choice, so it doesn't necessarily mean they are disadvantaged. So they replaced it with disability, and they discovered that in rural areas you have more populations with disability, so it reflects more of what is happening in the rural locations. We have limited English proficiency, less than high school education, low life expectancy. So if to calculate the supplemental index, you would divide these indicators by 5 and multiply it by any indicator of your choice, either from the environmental domain, health domain, or climate domain. That gives you the supplemental demographic index.
Do you keep a separate category for senior citizens?
There's
the elderly, separated from the disabled. Would that be a separate category, or?
There's disabled is
By age, I'm saying.
by age. No, it's together. It's not by age.
Okay.
Yes, but there is a indicator for 64 and above.
Oh.
Yes, under the socioeconomic domain.
Let's see. Okay.
Yes.
Seniors.
Yes, senior citizens. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So how do we calculate the demographic index? So the demographic index is based on the average of 2 demographic indicators: percentage low income, percentage of people of color. So this is the demographic index. The next. So how does the EJ index work? To calculate a specific index, EJSCREEN uses a formula to combine a single environmental factor with the demographic index. So this is the calculation to get the EJ index for any of the indicators. So what does it mean? So the EJ index identifies areas where there are vulnerable populations, and as well as people that are highly suffering pollution burden. That is why they use low income and people of color to create the environmental index, because those are populations that they believe are facing the larger bulk of environmental pollution, and those are the vulnerable population. The supplemental index is the same thing as the demographic index, but instead of having just 2 indicators, we are using 5 indicators to calculate the index. Next. So this is how the supplemental demographic index is calculated. Next, please. And this is based, all these calculations are based on percentiles. So for each of the indicators, it is ranked from 0 to 100. They are all converted to percentile. So they get the raw data, and for each indicator, they convert it to percentile. And the reason for this is I may tell you maybe your EJ or your index or your score is 90. It may not mean anything to you. By the time you compare it to other states, other tracks, it begins to have more meaning. So that is why they use percentile, so you'll be able to compare with tracks, states. You can compare different states, compare different block groups, compare different census tracts. There's also census tract data in the EPA. Apart from the block group, they have the census tract data as well. So a score of 65 means that you are just better than 50% of people are better, and it's 84% or no, 15% of people are worse, or communities are worse than that score. Then 84% are better. So anything, well, I would say anything 50, when you begin to get to 50, 60 percentile, that is really getting to a bad score. So how to interpret the results? So percentiles are a way to see how residents compare to everyone else in the United States. The EPA lets you compare different communities to the rest of the states, EPA region, using national percentiles. And percentiles also tell you what percent of US population has an equal or lower potential risk or proximity to certain facilities, or a lower percentage of minority. That is how you interpret the result. You know those communities that are closer to, in proximities to chemical facilities, industries, and those communities that have risk of exposure. So the new EJ 2.3, they have different, these are the new index that have been added. We have satellite data. They didn't used to have satellite data before. We now have it, which is the NO2. We have drinking water health-based compliance indicator. We now have new map layers. You have the Superfund boundaries, the extreme heat layers, private domestic well layers, EJ grant layers. I know you've been interested in these layers. You can click on that EJ grant layers and see communities that have received grants from the EPA. Then you also have disability included in the supplemental index, and the website has been revamped. So if you go to, this is the link to the website. It takes you to the landing page, and you click on EJScreen, and it takes from there, it takes you to the tool. And you can see these are the environmental indicators on the content pane of the tool. This is what the tool looks like. Before it was color coded, everything, but now it's more of they use the street map, street view based map. So what that does is when you pick the community of your choice, it now gives you the color to indicate the intensity of the burden for that community. And you can also toggle the map. If you want to look at the aerial view, you can toggle the base map and change the base map in the tool. So what are the EJScreen map layers? So under the map layers, you can compare to the US or you compare to states. So in this one, I zoom into Baltimore. So I'm looking at the lead paint exposure in Baltimore. And on the right side, on the left, you have the content pane. The content panes are all the indicators. Then on the right side, you have a legend that shows you the percentile ranking for each of those community, or county, or state, anywhere you decide to look at. Then we also have the EJ Place tab. And in this tab, you can look at EPA regulated facilities. So that is what you're looking at on the screen. So those are EPA regulated facilities. And it gives you other environmental data. In that data, you can pick other environmental things you want to overlay on the map. It gives you community landmarks, tribal lands, indigenous areas, colonials, and designated disadvantaged communities. All these are available on this tab. So you have different layers depending on what you want to look at. It's like each tab is a library on its own with different sections and different layers. Next. So the next tab we have is the report tab. In the report tab, you can add map or data to it and generate a report. You can also add additional demographics that are not on the indicators list. So if you want to see an additional demographic, you click there, you add the demographic, and it gives you the report. You can use the measuring tool, you can print, you can save your session. If you're viewing a session, you can just save it and come back and to that session. You have the side-by-side comparison, and you have the threshold maps all in the report, in the tool tab. So what are threshold maps? So the threshold maps allow you to look across the 12 index, providing a cumulative score. Like I said earlier, if you want a cumulative score, if you want to see what everything scores together. So when you click on the threshold map, you just click on how many indicators you want to see, and it generates a cumulative score for you. So that's the additional demographic. So you have so many demographic. You can either look at it in block group, or in polygons, or you look at it in symbols. So depending on what you want, you can bring it out in circles or in polygons like this. And you have different demographic there. So depending on what you want to see, that is, if it's not in the environmental index or any of those indicators list, you can pick from that array of information and view it on the map. So this is the threshold map. This is what it looks like. So you can, if you want to see a cumulative score, you can select all, and the score is generated for you. So how to generate a report? If you want to generate, there are so many ways of generating a report. You can select an area. When you select an area, it gives you the option of census, either census block, census tract, or you can state, county. You can select an area. You can draw a path. If you want to look at maybe rivers, highway, you just use the mouse to draw a path, and it generates a report for that path. You can draw an area. If you, maybe it's not a census tract, you just want to look at a small area, use your mouse and draw that area. It generates reports for that area. And you can drop a pin, just a dot, on a spot, maybe a building or something. Just drop the pin, it gives you the report for that place. Then you have the community report. So what it does, yeah, you can move to the next one. Thank you. So when you want to generate a report, it gives you both information. For here, this is Baltimore. So I selected the county. I wanted to see the report for Baltimore County. So it gives you the map and also gives you the community report. So it gives you data for low income, people of color, high school. So it gives you both demographic data and environmental data. So a community report for that particular place. It gives you the name of the city, the population, and the square meter. So it really breaks it down. So you have information about that location. And also in the report, these are other features in the report. You have community socioeconomic data. You have breakdown by race and age, language. You have both supplemental index, EJ index, and you have community features. And you have all the health, climate, and critical service data. Everything is in that report. It's like a 4-pager. So you keep scrolling down until you see what you're looking for. You also have it in a graph form where it shows you the state percentile and the national percentile. So you can compare. So for each indicator, you look at the percentile both for the states, and some the national is higher, some the state. So it varies across each indicator. So we're looking at, so we decided to create statistics from the EPA EJSCREEN, look at the statistics for the Mid-Atlantic region. So we want to look at what exactly is happening in the Mid-Atlantic region. So for the Mid-Atlantic region, for each of the indicators, we look at, for DC, the highest EJ score for air toxic cancer risk is at DC. which is 82.8. The highest EJ score for ozone is in Maryland, 65.9. Then the highest EJ score for the Mid-Atlantic ectotic castor risk is there. So if you look at it, you have the one we highlighted in red are the high indicators in each of the states in the Mid-Atlantic, including the DC. This is not a state, but DC is there with in the Mid-Atlantic region. So you have demographic index, ozone, particulate matter, diesel, air toxic, lead paint, wastewater, all those indicators are there. And we have their EJ index for the Mid-Atlantic region.
I have a question. For DC, the air toxics cancer risk, where did that information come from and what kind of toxics are we talking about?
We're talking of pollutants from industries, chemical industry. Yeah.
When did they do this?
This is this has always been there. This information has always been there. Yeah, they just update it annually. The information has always been there. So we just extracted the Mid-Atlantic region and created a statistics based on the Mid-Atlantic region.
And what about the air toxics respiratory?
It's all talking about toxics in the air, like pollutants in the air. Yes.
The same as the
Yes, this is like the cancer risk.
So, and with the air toxics cancer risk, are they talking about the toxins that cause cancer?
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
And so where do we, is there a breakdown of the indexes? How do they get this information and where do they?
Okay,
get it from?
for
Like,
this
what part of the city?
for this information, we extracted the data from EPA and broke it down for the Mid-Atlantic region. So if you go to the tool, you look at DC as a whole. So for DC, you get the EJI for each of those indicators. So what we did was we extracted it and calculated it to give you the figures for the Mid-Atlantic region. You may not see it like this in the tool, so that's why we offer technical assistance. If you want us to create like a statistics for you, we can do that. We're extracting data from the tool, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're looking at the average demographic index for also the states of, for the Mid-Atlantic region. We have Delaware, DC, so these are the figures for highest demographic and toxic release in the air index. So these are the figures for that. Yeah, this is also toxic release air index for the Mid-Atlantic region. You can scroll down. And the next one? I think I repeated, scroll down, I think I repeated it twice. Okay, so this is ozone. Okay, scroll, I think I saw PM 2.5. That should be the next one. Please, just one more, a slide up. No? Okay, this is diesel, yeah. This is the EJ index, the average EJ index for diesel for the Mid-Atlantic region. Then this is, okay, I think it's a repetition. The next one, please. Okay. Okay. The next one. This is traffic proximity. So we have the demographic index and the EJ index for traffic proximity for the Mid-Atlantic region. Yes, the next one, please. So DC. I know you've been so, yeah. So this is the statistics. This is the statistics for DC.
If you don't get it together, you're going to be walking around with respirators. There's a movie out right now.
Yeah.
People are kind of like breaking into buildings because air is running out and they have respirators and they're just looking for all kinds of supplies, and we need to take this stuff very seriously.
Yes.
It's not a joke.
Yes, it's not. It's not.
We're yelling and screaming about this very thing.
Yes, that's why it's important to,
What we
yeah.
knew it was, but for some reason they were saying that the EJ screen is not, the data that they're going to use to determine whether we was talking about that yesterday. Whether that data can be used to, um, prevent certain facilities to operate.
Right. Yeah, one thing about the EJ screen, I would say it's a guide. Yes, it's a guide, it's a starting point, and also they use it as, it's like you said, a starting point to address some of these issues. So if you want to address some of these issues, you will need to use the tool, back it up with other sources of data, and be able to present it to them. So this is the Maryland statistics. So you have the average EGI for each of these indicators in Maryland. To the one we highlighted the high indicators in red. Next, please. So this is the map. So you see the whole of PG County, and Baltimore all the way there is quite high.
It's always the urban neighborhoods.
Yes, always, yeah. Next one. So this is what the EPA data looks like. So you have, if you look here, you see the raw data. You see the raw data, you now have the percentile. So you're able to view the raw data and also view the percentile for each of those indicators. So that's one thing I like about this tool. You can see the actual data itself. Next one. So you also have territory data. So for each of those territories, some are available, some are not. So these are the ones that are available for the different US territory. Next, please. So how does the EPA use EJScreen? So EPA employs EJScreen as a first step when thinking about environmental justice. So as EPA creates policies, regulations, initiatives to address some of these issues, so the EJScreen is one of those tools they use as a first step in identifying those communities and try to address the problem. It's also made available to the public for transparency, so you can see what is happening in the community and also lend your voice in addressing such issues. Next one. So EJScreen has different learning resources on their website. There is video tutorials on how to use the tool. They have a PDF document that guides you on the different indicators. Tell you about the different indicators. They have technical information, downloadable data, how to interpret the result, update and changes, and they also have office hours. So if you go to the website, they give you the dates for their office hours where you can call in and speak to a representative and try to answer some of your questions or concerns. So it's all there in the website. So these are the resources on the website. So I will strongly advise we take a look and see maybe any of those resources will be useful. So what are the limitations of the tool? Each tool has its own limitations because census data itself is limited. They cannot capture everything and all the concerns in the community. No, sorry, it's still up. Still go back to the limitations, thank you. And okay, and the environmental concerns that are in the tool may not be comprehensive enough because of availability of data, and it cannot capture every relevant issues in the community. So what I tried to do was show what the data looks like when you download it in GIS Pro. It's a software where you can download this data and create maps from the data. So this is what it looks like in ArcGIS Pro map. The same thing, people of color, low income, Maryland from ArcGIS Pro.
Is that open source?
No, this is the software. This is our software. So we download the data in the software. So what we do is that because we have the software, if you want a particular map, we can generate it for you. It can be block group, census tract, as any designation you need, we'll be able to download it and create those maps for you. So if you want to write grants and you need maps, we offer such technical assistance to create the maps for you and help you in grant writing as well. We offer such assistance. So that's it. If there's any questions before the demo, I would like to demo the tool.
I have one more question. The life expectancy, that was one of the, was that an indicator or?
It's an indicator.
Okay, what do they mean by low life expectancy?
How long a person is expected to live.
Because of the area?
Yeah, yes.
And so, okay, there might be another conversation. So if the numbers are high in that index, like we saw in our ward, it was 88%. That means that it's an 88th percentile of the cancer risk.
Mm-hmm.
So then if you have multiple negative impact indicators like cancer risk, toxins, all of those, then that will be considered as the low life expectancy. Would that indicate what that
That's one of the considerations, but there are also
Yeah,
other
yeah.
considerations
Yeah.
for low life expectancy. It can be linked to lifestyle, it can be linked to genetics. So there are so many.
So it's broad.
It's broad. Yes, it can
Broad, but
lead
it's
to
not
health
one
issues.
cancer or
Yes, exactly. So
But is there, in this screen, does it map out that lifestyle?
it groups everything. It groups everything together.
So we don't know the list.
The
of
list
what
of yes,
makes the
make
lifestyle.
yes the low
The
low life expectancy.
low life expectancy.
Yes.
Okay. I got you.
Okay. So I'll need to go behind to show you the tool. It's a pretty cool tool. I like this tool. So the first layer is the map tab. So you can toggle, you can change the base map. So this is an area view of the place. So if you zoom in, you see how it looks like. I see actual buildings, roads, so you can rooftops, yeah.
Or parking maybe.
Parking space.
Outside.
So this is the area view. So you can change the base map if you want to see that, or you look at the street map. Sure. Okay. So this is this is the place. Then this is the search bar. You can type and search any locations you want to see on the map. So for the map tab, it's still centered on Baltimore. If you have another location you want to view, you can type it on the search tab and it will zoom into that location. You want to type? Go ahead, sure.
What area?
And this can be done in any zip code.
Zip code, yes. Okay, so that's Baltimore. You need to let's zoom out. Let's look at the whole county first, yes. So
I
let's
was
look
gonna
at
say, I live in Baltimore County, so you have numbers for Baltimore City, would they be similar for Baltimore County since we're so?
yes, it will be
Hello?
similar, yes, it will be similar. So let's look at some of the indicators. Let's look at the environmental burden. So this, you can have percentiles. You can use the percentiles for any of these indicators in Baltimore. So make you just maybe click any one. Click any of the PM 2.5. So what this does, you see the percentile, the legend, and for Baltimore, they didn't know. Sorry. For Baltimore, the exposure is less than the 50th percentile. That is why you have it gray. Maybe if you click another. So the southern part is between the 50th to the 80th percentile. So the color changes depending on the indicator and the level of burden. So we can move to the socioeconomic. You click this back, it returns. Then socioeconomic indicator. No, that's climate. Okay, let's look at climate. Let's look at flood risk. So what you need to do is to X out. There's an X. Okay, there's nothing on the content pane.
You want me to go to socioeconomic?
Yes, let's look at socioeconomic, please. Thank you. So you can click any of the indicators you want to view, but there's still, okay. What's going on? Is there? That's a. Oh, it's not available. Oh, what? Oh, wow. It is available. That's socioeconomic indicator. Is that low income? Yeah, that's for low income for Baltimore. So we can X out by clicking back. Here, just click on the tab. So you want to look at the supplemental. So you get the idea, generally, this is what, you just click on any of the indicators and it shows you in a color-coded map, whatever you want to look at, the intensity of the body. The lead paint, oh, it's high for Baltimore. That I know. Let's go back to environmental burden. Environmental. Yeah, this is EJ index. This got lead. This is for lead paint.
For the paint, not necessarily the water.
No, this is lead paint. Anything has to do with lead paint. Buildings pre-1960. So it could be the paint, it could be the lead pipe. Yes. Yes, this goes. So this is, you're looking at the EJ index. So they're multiplying this against low income and people of color. That's what we're looking at. So just click this again for me. We are off. Then water. You want to look at water?
She was saying that, I was asking about water. She was saying that
Let's go back to environmental. There's a new indicator. Drinking water compliance.
oh, okay, see, I didn't
Yeah.
see that.
Interesting. So no issues there.
It's still in the white area though, I don't.
Yeah, so this is less than 50th percentile. When you have this area where it's striped, there's no data. So when it turns yellow, light yellow, is between 50 to 80th percentile.
Okay.
Okay, but this is the index. Let's look at the indicator on its own without the index. Let's see if there's going to be. So let's look at drinking water. No change. So it's still below the 50th percentile for Baltimore.
Is this from the U.S. Census Bureau information, like 2020 or something?
Yes, the drinking water.
Last time they did 120, maybe.
No, there is the 2020 data. Yes, for the drinking water. 2020, I think, yes, 2020 data. Then, so any of these, you can just click on it. Let's look at the critical service gap. Let's click back here, please. Critical service For climate change, you have the indicators there. Let's look at the critical service. So lack of internet, lack of health insurance, housing bonding. It's going to come up. You need to give it like, yeah, it's slow. It's going to, it takes time to pop up. Okay. Can you please go to the place? Okay, you see, it pops. Is that for transportation access boarding? So it's between the 50th to 80th percentile for Baltimore County. You want water? Oh, sorry. You keep reminding. Thank you so much for reminding. So the place, let's look at the place. Yes, click back on that. So the next tab, which is the place, no, this, the place tab, okay. So you have EPA regulated facilities. So if you click on that, it shows you all the facilities. Yeah, so those are, it's a lot. Then you can X out of the legend to get it, if you, to the right. Yes, just X out of that, please. And that, no, yeah, the X. Yes, thank you. So it gives it back to, then let's look at the tool tab before we generate it. That's the last tab. That's reports. Let's look at the tool. So in the tool tab, you can add maps. Just click on this. You can add a shapefile, any data you want there. Click back out of that. Additional demographic, please. So if you, this is population, can you please scroll down on that? Yes, so those are additional demographic. There are so many. So you can add that and it appears, that data appears on the map. Can you X out, please? Then you can also print, you can use the measuring tool, you can save your session. Please, can you click on the side-by-side comparison? It takes you to another window where you can see different indicators side by side. So you need to go back to this one. Here, up here, please. Yeah. So that is the tool. Then the threshold map. Yes, so if you want to look at the cumulative score, you want to compare either the US or supplemental index, or you compare by state. So you can select all the indicators. It gives you a cumulative score for all the indicators. So when you click, you just say add to the map. We won't do it now because it's slow. It's going to take time to add to the map. So you can just select all, add to the maps. It gives you the whole cumulative score on the map. Can you X out, please, of that? Then the report. Let's click on the report tab, yes. So you can drop a pin. Let's click on select an area. So you can either generate, can you click on block group? Maybe select a block group. No, here, just select a block group, please. Yeah, select it. Then just click on any of the polygons. Any polygon of it. Yes. So it gives you the report. So click on the first one, please. EGA community report. It takes you to another window. So you have the map. And please scroll. Can you scroll down? Okay. Yes, you have the reports. You have the charts. And for each of the indicators. Please, can we go back to the tool? There's still a layer I'm looking for where it has the EPA, EPA grant boundaries. communities that have been granted grants. So if you click on this eye, it will give you the information on another tab. This one on top, yes, you can click on any of that. So it shows you, scroll down. Let's go up, please. It shows you the communities and how much grants they were giving. No. Let's go up. Let's go back to the tool. You're supposed to. Then go back to the tool. Thank you. Let's try this. Yeah, EPA grants. You see that? Okay, then. So it shows you the grants that have been granted by EPA to those different communities. Okay, can you go back to the map, please? Can you click on the community itself? Let's see if it gives us any information. Yes, this is what I'm looking for. It describes the grants and it tells you how much was given to those communities. Yeah. There you go.
If we can go back to the Mid-Atlantic summary statistics
Oh,
part, the Mid-Atlantic
summary. Okay, I'm gonna go back. Okay, okay.
Can you let us know what the areas, the numbers in red mean, and why some of them, that's,
We, anything from 50 above, we highlighted it in red.
say that one more time?
We highlighted it in red because this was generated by us. So 50 and above, any score 50 and above, we highlighted it in. Any score 50 and above, we highlighted it in red.
Well, there's some that's 50 and above that's not highlighted in red. So that's confusing because that, like, the,
Lead paint,
yeah, the lead paint.
75, and the district
Oh.
is 73 something?
Oh, okay. I see what we did here.
73.82.
I see what, yeah, I see what we did here.
Maryland
We
got,
highlighted the highest.
huh?
We highlighted the highest score.
The one
But-
that's highlighted is 53.88
For lead,
for lead.
for lead paint,
For
For-
lead paint, yeah.
for
In Pennsylvania.
in Pennsylvania.
Okay, but you look back, you have 78, 73.82.
In DC, but it's not the highest. DC have 81.04, 82.83.
81 where?
Yeah.
So you're saying it's not the highest as far as the index?
For that area. Okay,
For that
okay,
area.
Okay, that's what I was, that's what I was
Yes.
trying to figure out. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's not the highest number for that area.
For that area.
Oh, that's what you highlight. Okay.
Yes, that's what we highlighted.
Thanks for,
Yes.
for the clarification.
Oh.
We was confused.
Oh, okay.
Because we were going across this.
Oh,
one,
no, no, it's,
looking at this.
yes, yeah. So this was generated by us, so we just highlighted the highest number in that area
City or state.
for each, yes, for each state. Yes.
But we see the
this red coding, not the EPA.
Oh, okay, okay, I
We
see what you're saying. Okay,
generated,
okay, okay,
yeah.
okay. Okay, the EPA didn't do that. Y'all
No,
did that
we did, yeah, for this purpose.
Oh,
Okay.
gotcha.
Yes, so we got the data, we got the average, and we put different colors depending on the score. So we did it.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
So we go on this tool, we won't see the red.
No. We did this. No, it's not in the tool. Yes, for the purpose of presentation and to show what is happening in the different. So we did that. Okay, you're welcome. So we're ready. And if you need maps, if you need statistics, we have all the data available, and we can generate it and give it to you.
And this will come from seed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Using the tool, you can choose any tool of your choice. You can decide to use EPA, CGS, CDC. We have our own tool, the Mid-Atlantic tool or the Maryland EJSCREEN tool, which focuses on Maryland. Or you can also have different tools, so you have a comparison of what the scores are showing in the different tools.
Will we be able to get the comparison from the different agencies to show our local DOEE, Department of Energy and Environment? Will we be able to get CDC, EPA?
Yes, you get, when you get the data, so it's like this is CDC data, this is EPA data, this is, so it's there. The comparison is there. Yes.
Because the EPA EJSCREEN will pull from, CDC will pull from other agencies.
Yes.
Compile it.
Yes. But the EJI, the indices, the index are not the same across the tools. Yeah, so for the CDC, the health indicator may be lower or higher than that of the EPA because they have. No, it depends on. It depends on what. Yes, it depends on what you.
Exactly.
Yes.
They will pick the lowest and we will pick the highest.
Right, depends. Yeah. Any more questions? Okay.
And the other tools you mentioned, like the CGS and the Mid-Atlantic screening tool, do those also generate the community reports?
Yes. The CDC can generate the community reports, but the Mid-Atlantic, we have it by state. Yes. You're welcome.
I have a different sort of question, and I'm known for that at times, but just, do you folks in your department, do you get requests from environmental justice law centers to, I mean, the information you compile, that maybe the director of your unit would be asked to come in, maybe even testify in court if there's a case, a court case, anything like that?
No.
You know?
No.
I wouldn't get you in trouble. But I just want, because I mean, this is real good scientific stuff and all, but it doesn't have to do with it.
So we're giving you the information,
Okay.
so you have that information and you'll be able to,
That's up to me.
present it. Yes.
Just one.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We have the CDC tool coming up at 3, so you're welcome to join us for that session as well. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Really quick, I want to introduce myself too.
I like what I like that.
Hi, my name is Taylor. I'm a graduate student from Florida A&M University, and as our presenter knows, we met yesterday.
Yes.
My thesis research is. Do you want to use the mic? Sure. Are there people online? Yes. Oh, wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. As I was telling everyone in the room, my name is Taylor Howard. I'm a graduate student at Florida A&M University, and as our presenter knows, my thesis research is evaluating risk perception and public perception on environmental justice screening tools, specifically the EPA's EJSCREEN, which we just saw a wonderful demo of today. And I would love if everyone left in the room could take a flyer for my research and also sign up to take the survey, which is evaluating your risk perception of environmental justice concerns. So things like the health indicators and all of the climate change data that was shown in these tools, and comparing them to your personal knowledge of your community and see what lines up. So my research is funded by NOAA Center for Coastal and Marine Ecosystems, and it is my hope that once I get all the data analyzed and everything, all the public perception data analyzed, that I can share my findings and share my data with the developing agencies of these tools. So with EPA directly, with the Justice 40 Initiative, with the Council on Environmental Quality, which developed the CJEST, or the Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool. So, yeah, that's it.